Hey, what's going on? This is Jack Scullin of Scullin Media, and this is the third lesson of my beginner's music theory teaching series. And today we're going to go over chords and chord inversions. We're going to talk about the difference between triad chords and seventh chords, how to construct the basic chords that you need to know to play whatever genre of music you're interested in, and then how to construct inverted chords, and then how to correctly notate them. So without further ado, let's get to it. In this third lesson, I'm going to go over the theory behind constructing different chords. And the chords I've picked are, on this side we have triad chords, which is just 3 notes in the chord. But you can expand how many notes are in a chord by continuing to stack thirds. I mentioned previously in the second video that Western music is primarily constructed on tertian harmony, which means chords are constructed by stacking thirds. So, for instance, we have C. So to get a C chord, it'll be one variation of a third and one variation of a fifth. And if we continue with 7 chords, we'll continue to stack chords, so fifth, it'll become a seventh. So you can think of it as, you know, odd numbers or stacking thirds. And okay, so we're going to start out with chords that are constructed with just 3 notes. So the most basic, I guess, or the first one in the series will be a C major chord. And we get a C major by stacking thirds, and the first third will be a major third. And then the second one will be a minor third, denoted by the lowercase m, major denoted by the uppercase m. And as you can see up here, so we have our tonic, which is C, we go to our major third, and then we go to our perfect fifth. Similarly, a minor chord has one different note, and that is just the E is an E flat, or a minor third. So the relationship we have here is from our tonic to our third, we have a minor third, and from our third to our fifth, we have a major third. So that's C, E flat, our minor third, and our perfect fifth. Next, we have a diminished triad, and this is similar to a minor triad, except the G is a G flat. So the relationship we have here from our tonic to our third is a minor third, and from our third to our fifth is another minor third. And so right here we have our 1 minor third and our tritone, or diminished fifth. Okay? And lastly, we have an augmented chord. So an augmented chord, how a diminished chord is 2 stacked minor thirds, an augmented chord is 2 stacked major thirds. So the only difference between an augmented chord and a major chord is this G is raised a half step to become a G sharp. So we have our C, our major third, which is E, and then our augmented fifth, which is not G but a G sharp. So I'm going to play how those chords sound like, so you can get an idea in your head. So a C major chord sounds like this. As you can tell, that's pretty happy. And so to make it a minor chord, we lower this third to an E flat, and it'll sound like this. And to get a diminished chord from that minor chord, we just flat this G, so that'll sound like this. And then lastly, our augmented chord is just like our major chord, except we raise this fifth to a G sharp, so that'll sound like this. Okay? So major, minor, diminished, augmented. Next, we're going to continue discussing chords, And this time we're going to talk about seventh chords. So the only difference between a seventh chord and a regular triad is that we're just continuing to stack another third. As we mentioned earlier, tertian harmony is stacking thirds, so the odd numbers. So for instance, we have a major chord, C, E, G. What would be the next one? Skip A, so a B. So some B will make up the seventh chord. And first, we have a major seventh. So it's the exact same first three notes as just a regular major triad, except we're adding another major third, so G to B. And typically, seventh chords are used for jazz. You'll hear them in pop songs, but basically that extended harmony gives more room for soloists to explore patterns and not be so confined to just a three-note triad. So, as I mentioned in the first video, there's even more extended chords where there'll be ninth chords or 11th chords or 13 chords where you're continuing to stack thirds and create more dynamic harmony. And so next we have our dominant seven. So this is going to look exactly like our major seventh chord. So it has all the notes of a major triad, except this B we're lowering to a B flat. So instead of a major third, it's a minor third. And dominants are really instrumental in music because they're what's used or what's referred to as a cadence, which is basically your one chord, which is C major. The strongest relationship it has with any other chord is the dominant, which is its fifth chord, meaning a G major chord. And to even bring more resolution and more dramaticism and dissonance to resolution, the dominant chord makes it so that it even has this strong relationship because this lowered third just has a very powerful dynamic compared to the tonic chord. And I'll show you how that sounds like really quick. So a C major chord sounds like this. And a G dominant chord sounds like this. So instead of sounding like this, this added flat seventh from, this is just a G major. This is with the flat seventh. Just has a stronger relationship. So those are really crucial for creating cadences. So next we have minor seventh chords. So a minor seventh chord will have the exact same first three notes as a minor triad, and it'll also have a B flat, so it'll, from the G to a B, it's another minor third. And so pretty much the only difference between a minor seventh and a dominant is just we take this E and we lower it a half step to E flat. Okay? Next we have the first of our two diminished chords, which is called a half-diminished chord. And this is denoted by this circle with a slash through it. So the symbol for a fully diminished chord is just a regular circle, but when you put that slash in it, it denotes that it's half diminished. So with a half diminished chord, we have the exact same chord as our minor seventh, except we lower the fifth, our G, to a G flat. So the relationship we have is a minor third from our tonic to our third. From the third to our fifth, we have a minor third. And from our fifth to our seventh, we have a major third. So that is a half diminished chord. And our second diminished chord is called fully diminished, which is up here. And the only difference between there and the half diminished is that the B flat becomes a B double flat, or you can think of this enharmonically as an A. But since it's tertian harmony, you want to spell it as a B double flat just so we still have the idea that we're stacking thirds. So that chord is 3 minor thirds. Minor third, minor third, minor third. Okay? And so I'm going to play how all those chords sound like. So a major seventh sounds like this. A dominant seven, we're just taking this note and lowering it a half step, so that'll sound like this. A minor seventh, we're taking our dominant chord and we're lowering the E to an E flat. So this E to an E flat. Next, we have a half diminished. So we're taking our minor seventh, lowering this G to a G flat, and that'll sound like this. Finally, we have our diminished chord. So what we're doing is we're taking our half diminished chord and we're lowering the seventh an additional half step. So that will sound like this. Next we're going to talk about chord inversions. So a chord inversion is basically where you switch the root note of a chord, but it uses the exact same notes, but they're just the bottom note or the lowest note, the bass note, is changed. So the first triad we have is our C major triad, and the root note is C. But if we play it so that we use these exact same notes, but the E is on the bottom, we have our first inversion, which is denoted by 1, 6. These are ones, they're Roman numerals. It's in music you denote chords with Roman numerals. So if this is major, so it's an uppercase I. If it was a minor C, then it'd be a lowercase I. Okay? And the reason it is a sixth is because the distance, the relationship between an E and a G is a sixth away. So basically you have, E is your 1, and then F, G, A, B, C. So the distance between E and the root of our chord is a sixth away. So E to a C is a sixth away. So that's where the 6 comes from. Similarly, this 1, 6, 4 is our second inversion, and that's where the 5th is on the bottom. So it's a 6, 4 because G to a C is a 4th away. G to and E is a 6th away. Similarly, if we're talking about inversions for our 7th chords, we have our 1, 7, so C, E, G, B. And if we make it so that E is our bottom, it is a 6, 5. And the 6, 5 is denoting where the root and the 7th of the chord meet, because the root and the 7th is only a whole step or half step away. So as you can see here, E to B is a 5th, and then B to C is E to C would be a 6th away. So 6, 5, 6, 5. This is a 6th away from our root. This is a 5th away from our root. That's where we get this. Next, if we have the 5th of the chord in the bass, we have a 1, 4, 3. So similarly, G to a B is a 3rd away. G to a C is a 4th away. Lastly, we have our 3rd inversion, which would be a 1, 4, 2. So B to a C is a 2nd away, and B to E is a 4th away. So those are chord inversions. So that's our lesson on chord construction for today. And if you have any more questions about how to make chords, how to interpret chords, what makes up a chord, comment below with any questions and I'll answer them. Subscribe to the channel for more music lessons in the series. And if you have suggestions for any questions about music, comment them below and I'll try to make a video for you. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me and take it easy, y'all.